Have you ever wondered what truly separates you from the life you deeply desire? Perhaps it's not intelligence, nor is it those sudden opportunities that find their way to you. But the core, sometimes so simple, lies in this. Perhaps you haven't taken action each day, little by little. But the person who perseveres in action, that person eventually will touch what they desire. And why is that? Because success is not built from fleeting explosions, from sudden moments of elation. No, success is meticulously carved through the cycles of persistence, of repetition. Discipline, my friend, discipline sometimes surpasses even sudden inspiration. And those people, even when they don't feel like it, still compel themselves to act each day. They are, bit by bit, building solid momentum, while perhaps others are still lost in the sleep of hesitation, of reluctance. So how can you join the ranks of those who act? It's very simple. You stop negotiating with your own feelings. You just move forward. You just act. One day passes, then the next, and just like that, eventually, nothing can stop your steps. In a few moments, I will explore with you how to push yourself, to step into the rhythm of daily action. There are no excuses, only steady, unstoppable progress. You have a choice. Either you move or you slowly decay. You must have felt it, haven't you? That heavy, weary feeling, it slowly creeps into your soul when you've waited too long to begin something. Like rust on iron, stillness, inaction, it will corrode your spirit. A person who delays action, in essence, is also delaying their own life. Every day you spend in hesitation, waiting for perfect clarity, waiting for courage to come vdoknovinya naturally, or waiting for better conditions to appear, you are allowing your potential to slumber, to fade into oblivion. You were not born to sit still and watch life go by. You were designed to act, to build, to pursue your aspirations. Why is it that the person who pushes themselves, even when sometimes acting blindly, always seems to find their way? Meanwhile, the one who always waits for perfect steps remains stuck in one place? It is because this life, it favors movement. It rewards the one who dares to step forward boldly, even when they cannot see the entire road ahead. So how can you begin to move, especially when you feel paralyzed by doubt or overwhelmed by the vastness of the dream you cherish? Start very small. Just one small task, just one short step, one act of courage, however small. The door of opportunity will not open by itself unless you proactively reach out and grasp the handle. Try to imagine this. You wake up in the morning and tell yourself, "Let me think more about that." Then a day passes by. A week also silently slips away. And then a year later, you are still standing in the same old spot. Only age has increased and regret has grown deeper. But if instead, you woke up and said, "I will do this one small thing," and you actually did it, then after a year, where do you think you would be? What is truly holding you back? Is it the task itself, or your relationship with action? Are you waiting for some kind of permission to live your own life? What if that permission can only come from yourself? You must push yourself to act, not because it is easy, but because it is the only way to keep your spirit alive. Even a dull knife will become sharper through movement, through being honed. You are also honing your life through daily efforts. The price of waiting is often much greater than the price of action. You will pay a price one way or another, whatever you choose, either with the sweat of today or with the regret of tomorrow. That is the unchanging law of time and effort. Most people wander through life believing that waiting is harmless, that procrastination is merely a passive state, but that illusion comes with an invisible price tag, a silent cost, and it grows heavier with each passing day. Waiting is never free. It charges you in lost time, in eroded momentum, and in opportunities that vanish before your eyes. And do you know what the worst part is? Its interest compounds daily. You think you are escaping discomfort by postponing difficult tasks. But what you are truly doing is financing a deeper, more costly pain in the future. You postpone your workout today, but tomorrow, your body might betray you. You postpone your business idea, and then someone else launches it before you. You postpone an apology, and that relationship gradually dissolves. What initially is just a minor deferral can turn into a mountain of what-ifs. The wise do not wait for absolute clarity before acting. They act first. They know that the price of action, perhaps sweat, effort, even some failures, is always cheaper than the agony of inaction. Why do successful people seem to leap forward while others linger and hesitate? Because they have learned the difference between temporary discomfort and real destruction. Discomfort is only temporary, but the destruction of lost potential that can last a lifetime. So how do you change your relationship with hesitation? Start by flipping the question. Don't ask, what will acting cost me? Instead ask, what is not acting costing me? Try to imagine this. You stay in the same job for 10 long years, not because it fulfills you, but because starting a new venture seemed too risky. That is a whole decade of diluted purpose. Or picture this. You wait to become a better father, a better mother, until you feel you're ready. But your children keep growing, and the window of opportunity for you to shape their character shrinks LSLM day by day, and the most haunting image of all is that you depart from this life with your best ideas still unwritten, your greatest love unspoken, your finest potential untouched. Not because you lacked ability, but because you waited. So what is the real price of delay? It's not just your burden to bear. Your hesitation also robs others, your family, your future partners, the people who could have been changed by your courage. Every moment you stall, someone else is also paying a price. That is why you must push yourself. Not because it's easy, not because it's convenient, but because waiting will never give you anything back. Comfort is a seductive liar. It tells you there's still time. But time is not a faithful servant. It is a cunning thief. The longer you delay, the more it takes. So, don't try to outrun time. You won't win. But you can ride it if you start pedaling right now. Lean into the sweat. Embrace the strain. Take the leap. Make the call. Start writing the first page. Even if it's messy, especially if it's messy, because messy action is still much better than perfect stagnation. You will pay one way or another. So pay with discipline, with hustle, and with sacrifice. Pay with today's sweat, so you never have to live with tomorrow's regret. Discipline, you know, is the bridge between desire and possession. You want a better life? Everyone does. But between where you are and where you dream of being, there is a narrow bridge, and its name is discipline. Without it, desire is just an idle daydream. With it, even mountains can be moved. Perhaps you've set goals before, maybe even shouted them from rooftops or written them in bold ink on vision boards. But passion, it has a short shelf life. Initially it bursts forth powerfully, then it gradually fades away. It burns brightly, then it flickers, weakly. And when that happens, the only thing left to carry you forward is a quiet force called discipline. Discipline isn't romantic. It isn't wrapped in applause or drenched in abundant inspiration. It's not the fire, it's the flint. It's what remains when the excitement has died down. It's the part of you that still wakes up anyway, that still shows up no matter what, that still finishes the task long after the mood to begin has vanished. So, how do you build it? You make a promise to yourself and you keep it. That's it. Even when you're tired. Even when the weather is cruel, even when nobody claps or notices, especially then. You don't need to conquer the world in a single day. Start smaller. Set a standard you can hit every single day. 10 push-ups, 10 pages of a book, 10 quiet minutes of focus. Do it daily, without excuse, without exception. And what begins as a habit will gradually become a code of conduct. Discipline isn't about crushing every goal overnight. It's about choosing principles over moods. It's about saying, I said I would, so I will. Picture a man. He wakes before the sun. He sharpens his tools, tends to his land. There is no camera, no crowd, just effort, repeated. He is not chasing luck. He is building certainty. He is not hoping for the harvest. He is planting it. This is what you do when you live with discipline. You stop making excuses and start making progress. You stop negotiating with weakness. You start forging strength. Ask yourself, do I live by mood or by principle? Would I follow someone with my level of consistency? And if not, why should anyone else? Why should the world open doors for a man who doesn't knock twice? Discipline is a mirror. It reflects your respect for your own potential. It is not a punishment. It is a preparation. A way of saying to life, I am serious. There is no hack, no shortcut, no magic hour. There is only the man who shows up, and the man who does, he harvests. The other hungers. So when you feel like quitting, don't. When the bed is warm and the road is cold, rise. When your mind says later, reply with now. Because the bridge between who you are and who you can be is crossed one disciplined step at a time. And once you've walked it, once you've learned to keep promises to yourself no matter what, the world begins to trust you too. Not because of what you say, but because of what you prove. You want a better life? Then build it, brick by brick, day by day, with discipline as your mortar, with consistency as your hammer. Make your life a structure no storm can shake. Discipline isn't easy, but it is always worth it. Because when others drift, you remain. When others quit, you build. And when others dream, you become. Success is earned in solitude before it is celebrated in public. You want recognition, a title, applause. But before the world rewards you, you must first reward yourself with discipline, with grit, and with the humility to prepare in silence. All great victories begin in obscurity. No spotlight, no cheers, just the echo of your own footsteps in an empty room. We admire the leader on the podium, the champion with the trophy, the speaker on the stage. But we forget. He led himself long before he ever led others. He built when no one believed. He labored when no one noticed. That is the furnace where greatness is forged, in the unseen hours. You don't earn a crown by accident. You build a kingdom in the shadows, in early mornings, in quiet nights, in the moments when giving up would be easier, but pushing forward is the only honest choice. Why does this matter so much? Because most people only act when applause is guaranteed. They quit when the crowd doesn't cheer. They retreat when recognition is delayed. But here's the truth. The world only notices after you've done the work, never before. The greatest achievers aren't driven by praise. They are driven by promise, their promise to themselves. And so they keep showing up, alone, uncelebrated, undistracted. While others wait for motivation, they build it. While others wait for opportunity, they train. Ask yourself, what do you do when no one is watching, when there's no paycheck, no trophy, no headline? That is your crucible. That is the arena where your future self is being sculpted. Imagine two men. One rehearses daily in the dark. He sweats when it's inconvenient. He refines his craft when it's thankless. The other waits for the spotlight, hoping it will ignite his drive. But it's the man in the dark who emerges ready, because preparation is never wasted. It is stored, and one day it explodes into results. You must live in such a way that your future self would look back and say, "You earned this." Not through shortcuts, not through flashes of brilliance, but through quiet consistency, day after day. What habits are you building behind closed doors? What identity are you forming when no one is around to praise or punish you? Because that is the person the world will eventually meet. Not the person you pretend to be in public, but the one you've trained in private. Your daily actions are laying bricks for a house that only time will reveal. So be careful what you are building. Will it stand? Will it speak of effort or excuses? Will it echo discipline or delay? Train in silence, not because silence is easy, but because it's honest, because it sharpens your focus and deepens your resolve. The applause will come, but only for those who've proven they can succeed without it. So if no one sees you now, good. If no one is clapping, excellent. You are in the sweet spot, where character is forged, where self-respect is born, where you become undeniable. And when the moment finally arrives, when the doors open and the world sees what you've built, they'll call it talent. They'll call it luck. But you and I will know the truth. It was discipline. It was preparation. It was the choice to show up when no one asked you to. Earn the right to be seen by refusing to need to be. The crown is coming, but only if you build the kingdom in silence first. Force yourself to do the hard thing first. Your day begins with a choice, a simple but defining one. Do you tackle the mountain or do you sweep the pebbles? Most choose the pebbles. They organize the desk, clear out emails, reply to messages, shuffle papers, and call it productive. But when they finally turn to face the mountain, the real challenge, it is already evening. Energy is gone, focus has faded, and so the mountain waits another day. But the mountain doesn't move. The hard thing, the difficult call, the bold decision, the dream project you keep deferring, that is where the gold lies. That is the treasure zone. The things that make your stomach tighten are often the very things that make your future stronger. But instead of confronting them, we delay. We negotiate with fear. We postpone our greatness, one pebble at a time. The man who does the hard thing first is the man who builds an edge that others never catch up to. Because while others are still clearing the dust, he is already digging for gold. He's growing while others are stalling. He's earning momentum, not just motion. Why is this so powerful? First, because your willpower is highest in the morning. You haven't spent it yet. It is untouched, full of strength. Second, doing the hard thing first clears your mind. It gives you a clean runway for the rest of the day. You are not dragging dread behind you. You are walking free. And third, it tells your spirit something sacred. Today, I am in charge. Not fear, not mood, not convenience. So how do you turn this into a way of life? Wake, decide, identify the single task that intimidates you most, the one you've been putting off, the one that matters most, yet scares you more than any errand. Then do it. Before breakfast, before fear finds its voice. Do it while the world is quiet, when your strength is unspent and your focus is sharp. Not to impress anyone, not to chase some illusion of perfection, but to declare that you run the day, not the other way around. Picture this. What if every day began with the hardest part already done? What if, before the sun climbed high, you had already climbed your own mountain? How light would the rest of the day feel? How powerful would you feel? How far could you go? When you tackle the mountain first, your entire posture changes. You carry yourself with more confidence, more clarity, more command. You feel capable because you've already done the thing most people avoid. Ask yourself, what have I been pushing to the bottom of the priority list? What if, just once, I started at the top with the hard thing, the real thing, the right thing? What might change? Success does not belong to the man who does the most. It belongs to the man who does what matters. And what matters is usually the thing you resist. Don't be fooled by busyness. Don't let pebbles distract you from your summit. Begin every day by facing your mountain. Stand before it and say, I choose to climb, not later, not after comfort, but now. That is how leaders rise. That is how winners are built. That is how momentum is earned, one hard decision at a time, made early, made boldly, made before fear gets a vote. Ask yourself, what have I been teaching my mind through my actions, through my delays, through my excuses? And more importantly, what do I want to teach it now? You are not just living your life, you are training for it. Each decision writes a code into your system, so write the kind of code that builds a warrior, not a worrier. The battle may not be today, but when it comes, you will be ready. Not by chance, but by choice. Not by accident, but by training. Action is the cure for fear. You weren't born afraid. You didn't enter this world doubting your voice, your strength, or your worth. That came later. Fear crept in slowly, after each failure, each criticism, each sideways glance of judgment, after each time you stood still, when something inside you begged you to move. And with every moment of hesitation, you handed fear more control. Over time, you made a subtle mistake. You confused hesitation with wisdom. You called it caution, maturity, even intelligence. But deep down, you know the truth. Fear only grows when you feed it, and you feed it by doing nothing. Every time you delay, every time you walk away, every time you whisper, not yet, you are reinforcing fear's authority over your life. What is the cure? Movement, action, deliberate, courageous motion. Not reckless leaps, but intentional steps toward what scares you. The moment you move, even slightly, fear loses its grip, because fear cannot ride a moving train. This isn't just motivational talk. This is biology. When you act, you shift your brain from imagination into reality. You stop projecting disaster and start witnessing evidence. Your mind sees proof. I can handle this. And once you've tasted that proof, fear turns from paralysis into fuel. It becomes fire. Start small. Don't climb the whole mountain today. Don't confront the dragon in one breath. Just pick one thing you've been avoiding, a task, a truth. Don't think about finishing it. Just begin it. 5 minutes, that's all. Tell your body, we are doing this now. Your mind will resist. It will scream. It will flood you with reasons to stop. But here is the secret. It always quiets down. Once it knows you are serious. Once you show up with action instead of excuses, your fear begins to dissolve. Picture a boy standing at the edge of a lake. The water is cold. His heart pounds. He walks the edges. He dips his toes. He circles again. But he isn't free. Not until he jumps. That leap. It's not just physical. It's symbolic. It's where he reclaims his courage. It's where he returns to strength. You are no different. You've been circling your own lake, thinking, waiting, rationalizing. But deep down, you already know your freedom lies on the other side of the leap. The longer you walk around it, the larger it feels. But the moment you move toward it, the illusion begins to shatter. Ask yourself, what fear have I let grow too large? What leap have I been postponing for weeks, months, maybe years? What truth am I afraid to face? Write it down, then act. Not tomorrow, not when you feel ready, because readiness is a myth. You don't become ready by waiting. You become ready by doing. Every fear obeys the same law. It shrinks when you step toward it. Fear thrives in delay, but it dies in movement. So move. Don't wait for the perfect plan. Don't beg for guarantees. Don't bargain with the unknown. Just begin. Just move. Let courage be messy. Let it be small, but let it be real. Because once you act, everything changes. Fear doesn't vanish, but it bows. And what rises in its place is power. You weren't born afraid, and you don't have to live that way. Reclaim your courage. Reclaim your movement. Take the leap. You will find freedom was always waiting on the other side. Motivation follows action, not the other way around. Most men wait. They wait for a gust of wind, a surge of motivation, a lightning bolt of inspiration to hit them and move them forward. They sit idle, staring at their dreams, hoping that one morning they'll feel ready. But the truth is simple and brutal. That gust of wind you were waiting for, it only comes after you've started rowing, not before. The mistake is in the order. Most think that action follows feeling, that you have to feel inspired to get started. But the truth is the reverse. Feeling follows action. Discipline comes first, motivation second. Waiting to feel ready is like waiting for water in a well you haven't dug. When you sit around trying to get inspired, flipping through videos or quotes, you are teaching your body that it can only move when it feels like it. And that is a dangerous habit, because feelings are unstable. They change with the weather, the sleep you had, the last thing someone said to you. But commitment, that is power. That is consistency. That is identity. So how do you begin without motivation? You commit to a start time, not a feeling. You draw a line in your day and say, this is when I begin, no matter what. Even if you're tired, even if you're discouraged, even if the voice in your head whispers all the reasons why not, you begin anyway. And then something miraculous happens. Within minutes of movement, your mind begins to shift. The fog starts to lift. The act of doing reactivates the part of you that wants to continue. The body leads. The mind follows. Picture a man in a freezing cabin. He is wrapped in a blanket, teeth chattering, staring at an empty fireplace. He mutters, "Once it's warm, I'll add wood." But the fireplace doesn't work that way. You build the fire first. Only then does the heat come. Only then do your hands stop shaking. The same is true in life. Action builds the fire. Heat is the result. Where in your life are you sitting cold, waiting for warmth? Where are you delaying the first spark, hoping something else will light it for you? What if the very fire you are seeking is trapped behind the action you've been avoiding? Start small, start poorly, but start. Even 5 minutes of focused effort can flip the switch. Once you begin, you are no longer at the mercy of your mood. You've taken back the wheel. The wind will catch your sails, but only after you've pushed off the dock. You have to leave the shore of comfort. You have to stop waiting for the current. The great secret? The current often forms around your motion. The universe conspires with movement, but it ignores hesitation. Ask yourself, what part of my life have I paused, waiting to feel like doing it? What would change if I just committed to a start time and honored it like a sacred promise? There is no magic. There is only movement. Motivation is a reward, not a requirement. It shows up when you prove you don't need it. So build the fire, row the boat, push from the shore, the warmth, the wind, the will, They are already inside you, but they are waiting for you to act first. Don't wait to feel ready. Make movement your master. The feelings will follow. The future is built in 15-minute blocks. You think you need hours, a clean schedule, perfect energy, a quiet room, the stars to align. But that is not true. What you really need is 15 focused minutes, then another and another. That's how the great cathedrals were built, not in one grand burst, but by laying one stone at a time, every single day, without fail. This is the truth most never learn. Waiting for the right moment is just another form of resistance. It is procrastination in disguise. We tell ourselves we'll begin when life slows down, when we feel inspired, when the world gives us permission. But the world doesn't work that way. It will always be noisy, always chaotic, always full of interruptions. So what do you really need? Not more time, not a longer morning routine. What you need is a decision to start, even in the middle of the mess. Because when you make that decision, truly make it, something magical happens. Time stretches. You stop noticing the distractions, you fall into rhythm. What once felt impossible becomes possible, simply because you showed up for a sliver of time. Think about that. You've spent days, maybe years, convincing yourself that you are too busy, too tired, too behind. But your future doesn't need marathon days. It needs daily deposits. Small ones, focused ones. A quarter hour of undistracted effort every day will always beat sporadic bursts of intensity. The man who moves a little each day walks farther than the one who sprints and collapses. Picture him now, a man with just 15 minutes to spare. He closes the door, opens his notebook, and begins. His progress is invisible at first. No one sees the mountain moving, but he keeps at it, quietly, relentlessly, until one day, there's a shift, a breakthrough. Like spring after a long gray winter, sudden and alive. And people ask, where did this come from? But he knows, it came from every single day. He chose not to wait. You have that power too. You don't need permission. You don't need ideal conditions. You just need to own 15 minutes and then do it again tomorrow. Not perfectly, but faithfully. So ask yourself, what if you claimed 15 minutes each day for what matters? What if you gave your dream the same consistency you give your distractions? What would grow if you stopped waiting for time and started making it? Because the truth is, the life you want won't arrive all at once. It will be built brick by brick, page by page, set by set. You will build it the way anything worth having is built, with patience, grit, and small windows of time, claimed like treasure. Your future isn't waiting for the perfect hour. It is waiting for you to use the imperfect minutes, already in your hand. Start there, start now, then come back again tomorrow, and again, until the invisible becomes undeniable, until momentum is no longer a wish, but a force. 15 minutes, that's all it takes to begin a life. It is work. Lay your stone and keep building. You are the architect of your routine. Build it to win. You may not control every event, every disruption, or every storm that comes your way, but you absolutely control how you begin and how you end your day. And that control, that is the lever that moves everything else. Because the man who builds a routine is the man who builds a future. Without routine, you drift. You wake up into chaos. You react instead of initiate. You let the world set the tempo, and soon you are dancing to a song you never chose. No wonder you feel scattered. No wonder your progress stalls. The man without routine is a servant to chance, scrambling for structure, hunting for momentum, praying for motivation that never stays. But when you build a personal rhythm, one that is deliberate, disciplined, and focused, you take control. You start to move like a man with purpose, because you are one. The routine you build isn't just a list of habits. It is a declaration of who you are becoming. It is identity in motion. Why is this so powerful? Because your routine doesn't just guide your day, it shapes your character. The man who rises with clarity and ends with reflection lives with alignment. He knows who he is. He doesn't need constant affirmation or direction. He has a compass, and that compass is crafted in the quiet, daily rituals he repeats without fail. So build wisely. Start your day with clarity. Wake up at the same time. Reach for your mission. Breathe, read, pray, journal, walk. Whatever brings you into presence and power, do it. These aren't just habits, they are bricks in the foundation of your becoming. End your day with intention. Review your actions, reflect on your progress, learn from the stumbles, celebrate the wins. Sleep not as an escape, but as preparation for the next battle. The man who ends his day with reflection begins the next one with wisdom. Guard these rituals like sacred fire. Let no one steal them. Let no excuse dilute them, because these anchors give you stability when life shakes. They remind you, you are not a leaf in the wind, you are the wind. Imagine your life like a factory. If the machines run smoothly every morning, if the lights turn on, the gears rotate, the workers know the rhythm, production soars. But if every day begins in confusion, if no one knows the plan, if the switches are different, if half the tools are missing, then output plummets and chaos rules. So ask yourself, what kind of factory are you running? Who designed your schedule, your former self, your current circumstances, or your conscious choice? Are you building a system that serves your purpose, or are you drifting in one designed by distraction? You are the architect. You have the tools. You have the power to build routines that strengthen you, not weaken you. But it won't happen by accident. It requires intention, repetition, discipline, and above all, belief. The belief that your future is worth this effort. So start today, not tomorrow, not next week. Begin now. Choose one habit to anchor your morning, one ritual to end your night. Repeat it like your life depends on it, because it does. The man who owns his morning owns his momentum. The man who ends his day in reflection owns his direction. Build your routine like a man who plans to win, because winners aren't born. They are built one morning at a time, one evening at a time, one sacred routine at a time. Your results obey your standards. You don't get what you want. You get what you accept. And what you accept, that is determined by your standards, the invisible line you draw between what is tolerable and what is not. Raise that line, and your life rises with it. Keep it low, and even greatness will walk right past you without knocking. Most people blame circumstances, timing, or luck. But the truth is harsher and simpler. The life you live today is a mirror of the standards you've tolerated. It's not that other men are favored by fate, it's that they demand more of themselves consistently, without compromise and without excuse. When it's hard, they lean in. When it's tempting to cut corners, they choose discipline. And the result? A life that looks extraordinary to those with looser standards. Your standards are not declared. They are revealed in your patterns, in your morning habits, in the words you speak to strangers, in the care you put into your craft when no one is clapping. Every action whispers to the world, "This is what I allow." And the world listens, because everything you tolerate teaches life how to treat you. Look at your daily choices, the time you wake up, the energy you bring to your relationships, the quality you put into your work. These aren't random behaviors, they are signatures of your standard. If you consistently hit snooze, speak in complaints, and give half effort, it's not about motivation. It's about what you've decided is acceptable. Picture a builder tasked with constructing a home, meant to last for generations. He chooses only the finest stone, lays every brick with precision, checks each angle twice. The result is a structure that endures through wind and time. Now picture another builder. He cuts corners to save time. He uses weak cement, skips measurements, tells himself, good enough. His house looks fine until the first storm. So ask yourself, what kind of life are you building? Where have you compromised? Where have you whispered to yourself, this will do, even though a deeper part of you knew it wouldn't? Raising your standards doesn't require a revolution, just one level higher, one more rep at the gym, one more hour of focus, one more honest conversation, one less excuse. It's not about perfection, it's about intention, about looking at each part of your life and saying, I will no longer accept less than what I am capable of. This is how the shift begins, quietly, internally, firmly. And once you make that shift, life starts responding. Opportunities notice, people notice, you notice. Because your internal bar has risen, and suddenly, things that once seemed impossible become inevitable. Your outcomes will always bow to your expectations, so expect more and act like it. Don't hope for a better life. Don't wait for conditions to improve. Build your foundation stronger. Demand more from your time, from your words, from your posture, from your heart. The world isn't testing you, It is responding to you. Every low result is a reflection of a low standard somewhere, and every breakthrough begins the moment you say no more. So draw the line, raise it, then rise with it. Because your life isn't shaped by what you dream, it is shaped by what you demand. One decision can change your entire momentum. You are never far from a breakthrough. You may feel stuck, lost, confused, but in reality, you are one firm decision away from a completely different direction. One single act of clarity, backed by action, can shift everything. The problem: most people never make that decision. They dance with indecision, they delay, they doubt, they debate, and in doing so, they drift. They wait for signs, for certainty, for perfect timing. But progress doesn't wait for perfection. It begins the moment you decide, not when the plan is flawless, but when your commitment becomes non-negotiable. Every man who ever built something meaningful began with a single, bold choice. I will do this no matter what. Why is this so important? Because decision cuts through confusion, slices away the noise. It creates a line in the sand. Before the decision, everything feels tangled. After it, everything falls into motion. Not because the path becomes easy, but because you finally said yes to forward momentum. Decision brings power, and not just the power to move, but the power to become. Every time you decide with conviction, you shape your identity. You tell yourself, this is who I am now, and identity is the foundation of all lasting change. So how do you find the decision that changes everything? You get honest. You stop hiding behind excuses. You ask yourself one piercing question. What have I avoided that I already know must change? That is where your power lies, not in gathering more advice, not in overanalyzing the pros and cons, but in owning the truth that is already whispering to you. You don't need more information. You need more resolve, because you already know what you must do. The question is whether you will finally decide to do it. Picture a ship lost in fog. It circles aimlessly. The crew is anxious. The waves toss it from side to side. But the moment the captain picks a direction, everything changes. The fog doesn't lift. The sea doesn't calm, but now the ship moves. And because it moves, it can be steered. Adjustments can be made, land can be reached. But none of that happens until the first decision. Now ask yourself, where in my life am I still circling? Where are you waiting for a sign, when deep down you already know the call? What decision are you postponing, because you fear discomfort, or failure, or judgment? And more importantly, what might open if you made it today? The truth is, most people never choose. They float. They let others choose for them. They build a life around avoidance, and then wonder why it feels hollow. But you are not most people. You are the captain, and the sea does not respect hesitation. It respects direction. Stop waiting to be certain. Start deciding to move. The current will catch you, but only once you begin rowing. Yes, you might steer wrong at first. Yes, you might have to course correct. But action refines vision. Motion clarifies path. You cannot find truth by standing still. So plant your flag, draw your line. Say it out loud. This is my choice. Then follow it with action, because the difference between drifting and destiny is often just one decision. And that decision is yours to make. Make it today, and begin the journey that changes everything. Progress requires you to let go of the old you. There is a version of you that brought you here. That version fought battles, endured storms, made hard choices, and for that, you owe him respect. But now you must leave him behind, because that version cannot take you forward. Growth demands release, and most men never ascend because they cling to outdated identities, built not on truth but on fear, failure, and false pride. You say you want change. You say you want success, clarity, freedom. But do you still act like the man who fears success? Do you still carry the posture of the one who doubts himself? Do you still speak like the one who feels unworthy, who expects rejection, who walks like he's not ready? Every new level of life demands a new version of you, not a different man, but a refined one. The essence remains, but the weight is shed. The man who moves forward is the one who discards the stories, the habits, the identities that once served, but now sabotage. This is the crossroads of every transformation. You do not just add to yourself. You strip away. Growth is not just a climb upward. It is a letting go. It is the fire that burns what is no longer needed. The only question is, will you let it burn? So how do you let go? You examine, you pause. You ask yourself with brutal honesty, what belief, behavior, or habit do I know deep down no longer fits who I am becoming? You already know the answer. That story you keep repeating, that fear you still defend, that routine that drains you, that relationship that shrinks you. You know, don't you? And then, here is the hard part. You drop it. Not next year, not when it feels convenient, not after one more try. Today. Because every moment you delay, you strengthen that chain. You train yourself to tolerate the weight. And over time, that weight convinces you that flight is impossible. Picture a hot air balloon. It has the fuel, it has the flame, the sky is wide open. But it won't rise unless the sandbags are cut. Some of those bags are thoughts, others are people, others are comfort routines you swear are necessary. But they are not, they are anchors. And no man rises while gripping anchors. So what are your sandbags? What is keeping you earthbound? What voice in your head keeps saying, stay here, it's safer, it's familiar, it's who you are? That voice is lying. It is the echo of an old self, a self that once protected you, but now only imprisons you. You can honor him, you can thank him, but you cannot obey him. You are not that man anymore. And every day you act like you are, you betray the one you are becoming. You cannot fly into your future if you are chained to your past. You cannot rise while defending your limitations. Cut the cords, drop the bags, let go of who you were so you can rise into who you are meant to be. Because the sky doesn't ask for perfection, it asks for release. Let go, rise, and don't look back. Your environment is the silent architect of your behavior. Look around. What surrounds you shapes you. The walls, the books, the people, the sounds. They don't just fill space. They fill your subconscious. They whisper to you, not in shouts, but in quiet repetition. And over time, those whispers become your beliefs, your moods, your actions, and eventually your direction. You may think your actions are the result of free will, but most behavior is not chosen in the moment. It is cued. You act in patterns, and those patterns are triggered by what you see, hear, and feel every day. You don't become like your goals. You become like your surroundings. Spend your time around people who build, and you begin to build. Spend your hours among thinkers, and your mind sharpens. Share space with doers, and you start to move. But sit in rooms full of gossip, distraction, and small minds, and you will find your energy leaking, not in an instant, but in a slow, silent drain. This is why some men rise, and others stay stuck. It's not just about ambition or intelligence, it's about exposure. It's about the atmosphere you breathe in day after day. You can have the best intentions in the world, but if your environment contradicts your goals, your environment will win. So if you want to take consistent action, don't begin with your to-do list. Begin with your surroundings. Look at your space. Are your tools where you need them? Are your books close enough to reach? Is your desk a place of clarity or chaos? Is the room orderly, or does it invite distraction and delay? Is your environment built to support purpose or passivity? And what about your conversations? Are you speaking to people who stir vision within you? Or do your daily interactions revolve around complaints, entertainment, and small talk that leaves you emptier than before? To change your environment, act with intent. Rearrange your physical space to reflect your internal standards. Clean it, simplify it. Make it frictionless to do the right thing and harder to do the wrong thing. Put reminders of your goals in your line of sight. Keep your journal open. Keep your shoes by the door. Keep your purpose visible. Then look at your people. Distance yourself gently but firmly from those who keep you circling. You don't owe everyone access, especially not those who dull your edge. Seek out people who challenge your assumptions, who hold you accountable, who remind you of who you can become. And if you can't find them yet, then become someone they would want to find. Raise your own standard first. Lead by example. Make your mindset so sharp, your values so solid, that others are drawn to build beside you. Picture your mind as fertile soil. Every sound, every voice, every message you allow in is a seed. Some grow into vision, others grow into weeds. If left unchecked, your mental garden becomes wild, tangled with beliefs you never chose. So ask yourself, what has been growing inside you lately? Who planted it? What have you allowed to take root? And more importantly, what can you uproot today? What weeds have overstayed their welcome? What distractions, what voices, what objects need to go? And what can you plant instead? What new seed of thought, of structure, of inspiration will you plant with purpose? You don't rise by willpower alone. You rise by design. And design begins not just in your mind, but in the space around you. Create an environment that reflects your highest self, and your behavior will begin to follow. Not overnight, but inevitably. Because when the air you breathe is aligned with your values, your actions fall into place. So look again. What surrounds you, and what must change? The man who keeps his word to himself becomes unstoppable. The world is full of men who keep promises to others, but break them to themselves. They say they will rise with the sun, but when the morning chill bites, they retreat beneath the covers. They promise to finish the work, to begin the habit, to follow the plan, but when the moment comes, they delay. They rationalize. They promise again tomorrow. And each broken word, though silent, chips away at something vital, self-trust. But there is another kind of man, a quieter kind. He makes no grand announcements. He doesn't boast about what he will do, but when he speaks to himself, he listens, and more importantly, he follows through. That man becomes dangerous in the best sense, not because he is loud or aggressive, but because he no longer depends on applause. His strength flows from within. His confidence is built brick by brick, action by action. Why does this matter so much? Because every time you keep your word to yourself, you reinforce something powerful. I am someone who follows through. And that message, spoken consistently, becomes identity. Identity shapes behavior, and over time, behavior builds destiny. It isn't about perfection, it's about integrity. When your inner voice gives a command, does your body respond? When you make a vow, even a small one, do you treat it as sacred? Or do you let it slide, because no one else will know? That gap between what you say and what you do is where either confidence or shame is built, and no man can rise higher than his own opinion of himself. So, how do you start? You don't begin with a grand oath to change your entire life in a day. That is pride disguised as progress. You start small. You shrink the promise until it fits inside your current strength, and then you honor it completely. A 5-minute routine at dawn, a quiet moment of stillness, a daily letter written by hand, a walk taken when you said you would, one act of courage, one decision followed through. Picture a craftsman. Each morning, before the village stirs, he sharpens his blade. Not because he expects a fight, but because the sharpening itself is the ritual. It builds readiness. It honors his craft. And one day, when the fight does come, he meets it without panic, not because he hoped, but because he trained. What about you? Where have you made a promise that lies forgotten? What sacred word have you spoken to yourself and then abandoned? What would change if you picked it up again today? Don't look for witnesses. Don't wait for applause. Make the promise again. Small, focused, real, and then keep it. Because the man who honors his own word no longer needs to chase greatness. He becomes it. Through repetition, through consistency, through the quiet strength of doing what he said he would do, even when no one else is watching. The world will try to pull you in 1,000 directions, but the man who is anchored by his own word remains steady. He does not drift. He does not beg for permission. He trusts himself, and that trust becomes a force. So begin, not tomorrow, not when you feel ready, but now. Make one promise, keep it, and let that be the first stone in a foundation no storm can shake. You can either be pushed by life or pulled by vision. Life will move you, whether you are ready or not. It doesn't wait for your convenience. It brings pressure. It brings deadlines, disappointments, interruptions, and demands. And most people, they spend their lives reacting, dodging, flinching, bracing for the next blow. They live in a constant state of response, always adjusting, always behind. But there is another way, to move, not because you are pushed, but because you are pulled. Pulled by a vision, pulled by a purpose, a fire that burns steady, even in the dark. When a man has vision, he is no longer waiting for life to shout instructions. He already knows where he is going. He moves with intention, and that kind of movement cannot be faked. A clear vision makes you immune to many distractions. Fatigue may whisper, but purpose speaks louder. Resistance may slow you, but it cannot paralyze you, because when you are pulled by something larger than yourself, even your pain has a place, even your failures have meaning. This matters more than most men realize, because the man without vision drifts. He stumbles into things, then wonders why nothing holds. He is discouraged by failure because he has no deeper anchor. Every inconvenience becomes a crisis. Every delay feels like defeat. But the man with vision, he may fall, but he falls forward. He rises again, his compass remains set. So how do you find that pull? You sit with yourself not just once, but often. You turn down the volume of the world and ask the deeper questions. What do I truly want to create? Who do I want to become? What would I pursue if no one could stop me? These questions aren't answered in a rush. They are revealed in stillness, in reflection, in honesty. And once they are answered, once even a glimpse of that vision arrives, you must protect it, nurture it, return to it daily. Picture two horses. One is chased by fear. It runs fast, but it runs aimlessly, always looking back, always unsure when to stop. The other is pulled by oats. It runs steadily. It runs long. It runs with direction. Which one reaches the finish line? Now look at your own life. Where have you been running out of fear? Fear of failure? Fear of being forgotten? Fear of not being enough? And what has that fear cost you? Clarity? Peace? Progress? Now imagine shifting. Imagine letting a vision pull you instead, not because you should, but because you must. Not because others demand it, but because something inside you has already decided. That shift is everything. Because when vision leads, fear fades. When you know your destination, setbacks are just bends in the road, not dead ends. You don't have to live at the mercy of pressure. You don't have to be shoved through life by urgency and noise. You can be drawn forward by meaning, by purpose, by a future so compelling that it becomes magnetic. But you must choose it. Vision does not arrive by accident. It is invited. It is clarified. It is committed to. So choose. You can be reactive, or you can be drawn by destiny. Stand still for a moment. Listen beyond the demands. Ask the real questions. And once your vision speaks, follow it. Because the man who moves by vision moves with power. He does not wait for permission. He does not flinch at the storm. He is not pushed. He is pulled. And that makes all the difference. Repetition builds identity. So, repeat what you want to become. Every time you repeat a behavior, you cast a vote for the kind of man you're becoming. You might think it's just one night of staying up too late, just one chore left undone, just one promise ignored. But it isn't isolated. These small decisions begin to string together, forming patterns, and those patterns harden into identity. Before long, your sense of self isn't chosen. It is inherited from your own repeated actions. But this truth is not a curse. It is a key, because if repeated mistakes can shape a lesser version of you, then repeated discipline can build your best. You can cast a different kind of vote. You can shape your identity not by accident, but by intent. Not by force, but by faithful repetition. Doing the right thing again and again, even when no one sees, even when it feels like it doesn't matter. Why is this so powerful? Because identity shapes belief, and belief shapes destiny. When you begin to see yourself as consistent, courageous, and dependable, you start to act that way. Naturally, it stops being a struggle to behave with integrity or follow through on your plans. You simply become the kind of man who does these things. They are no longer tasks. They are expressions of who you are. And how do you start this transformation? You begin with something small, something honest. You pick one action that aligns with the man you want to become, and you do it daily. Not perfectly, not with pressure, but with persistence. The power lies not in how grand the act is, but in its steady return. Picture a man chiseling a statue from stone. The first strike leaves no mark. The 10th, still barely a scratch. But he returns each morning, strikes again and again. He does not rush, he does not despair, he just returns to the work. And one day, the form appears. The shape was always there, waiting beneath the surface. It simply took repetition to reveal it. That is your character. It is not built in bold declarations, but in small, repeated efforts. In doing what you said you would do and holding your posture when you could slouch, in writing the letter, in completing the task, in showing up again and again. So what are you chiseling into your character right now? Are your habits shaping the man you admire, or the one you are trying to escape? Are you voting for excellence, discipline, honor? Or are you unconsciously reinforcing hesitation, disorder, or passivity? The good news is the future is still wet clay, and every action today is a tool in your hand. You are never locked in. You are never too far gone. One good choice, repeated, begins the return. You don't need to change everything in a day. You need to begin carving. You need to cast your vote. One moment of discipline, one choice of courage, one act of follow-through. Then do it again tomorrow. You become what you repeat. So repeat what matters, not when it's easy, not only when it's visible, but especially when it's quiet, especially when it's hard. Because the man you are becoming is watching, and he is built one strike at a time. The more you resist, the stronger you become. Muscles are built by resistance, and so is character. The weight you lift in the gym tears the muscle to make it grow. In the same way, the weight you carry in life, the setbacks, the delays, the demands, tears at who you are, only to reveal who you could become. But if you avoid every hard thing, you remain soft, not just in body, but in spirit, in thought, in resolve. Every time you face resistance and choose to continue, you're not just checking off a task or enduring hardship, you are transforming. You're telling your soul, we are made for more than comfort. That is no small thing. That is how men are made strong, not by ease, but by endurance, not by luck, but by labor. Most men make a tragic mistake. They think adversity is a sign something's wrong. That struggle means they missed a turn or made a mistake. But often, resistance is the surest sign that you are exactly where you need to be. Because resistance doesn't show up when nothing is growing. It shows up where potential is pressing outward, trying to expand. This truth matters deeply, because the world does not get easier. The path does not smooth out for those who wish it so. What changes is you, and that change, that hard-earned strength, is not given. It is earned through repetition, through rising early when you want to sleep, through finishing what you started, through speaking the truth when it would be easier to stay silent. So how do you build that strength? You stop cursing the challenge. You welcome the struggle. You embrace the discomfort like an old teacher, and you remind yourself, this challenge is the forge for my next level. Do not look for ease. Look for the edge where your old self trembles, and your new self begins to take shape. That is where growth lives. That is where character is carved. Picture a blacksmith at his forge. He takes raw steel and places it in the fire. It burns. It softens. Then comes the hammer, strike after strike, ringing through the air. It hurts. It crushes, but it also shapes. It forms until that raw, formless material becomes a blade, a weapon, a work of strength and precision. That is what your obstacles are doing to you. They are the fire, the hammer. They are not meant to destroy you, but to define you. Now look at your life. Where are you avoiding resistance? Where have you chosen the easier path? Where are you mistaking comfort for peace? What if the very thing you are avoiding is the weight that would strengthen you? The hard conversation, the disciplined schedule, the untaken path, the work you know you were meant to do? The only way to get stronger is to lift the weight, not once, but daily. Not when you feel like it, but because you decided to become someone unshakable. That kind of strength can't be borrowed, it can't be gifted. It must be forged. So do not flee from the weight. Lift it. Let it test you. Let it tire you. Let it teach you. Let it change you. And when you rise, because you will not rise the same. You will rise stronger, sharper, ready, and the world will feel different, not because it changed, but because you did. Clarity comes from action, not just thinking. You spend hours, maybe years, thinking about what you want, planning, analyzing, mapping every possible route, trying to get it perfect before you move. You tell yourself it's wisdom, that it's preparation, that you'll act when the moment feels right. But here's the truth. Clarity doesn't come from thought alone. It comes from movement, from experience, from trial, error, and correction, from getting your hands dirty in the work itself. Thinking has its place. No great builder lays stone without a blueprint, but too much thinking without doing becomes a trap. A man can drown in his own mind. He can mistake motion in thought for progress in life, and the longer he stays in that place, the more the fog settles in, the more the doubts multiply, the more distant his goal becomes. But something shifts the moment he moves. Even if the step is uncertain, even if it ends up being the wrong one, the fog begins to clear. The path begins to form. Not all at once, but just enough to reveal the next move. Because movement reveals what the mind cannot predict. This matters more than most realize. Because you've likely convinced yourself you need more time, more data, more confidence, more certainty. But certainty doesn't come before action. It comes because of it. The doing is what reveals the direction. The decision to move is what creates clarity. This is where so many stay stuck. They believe if they think long enough, they will feel ready. But readiness is a myth. No man ever felt truly ready before stepping into something great. He simply decided to begin, and through that beginning, readiness arrived. So how do you begin? When everything still feels cloudy? When the path feels overwhelming? You simplify. You narrow the focus. You pick one move, the smallest one, and you take it today. Not tomorrow, not next week, today. Because action is the antidote to overwhelm. One move brings the next into view. You don't need to see the whole staircase, you just need the next step. That is the secret. Movement creates momentum. Momentum breeds clarity. Clarity invites courage, and courage carves the path forward. Picture this. You stand at the edge of a vast forest. You have a map. You study it. You turn it over. You check the compass. You estimate the distance. But the truth is, the map is only a guess. The forest is alive. It shifts. It hides its terrain until you enter. You can study all day, or you can step in, slowly, humbly, and learn the land by walking it. That is how life works. That is how purpose reveals itself. Not to the one who waits, but to the one who walks. Where in your life are you still waiting for a perfect plan? Where have you mistaken delay for preparation? And what might change if you simply began? Maybe it's the letter you haven't written, the conversation you keep avoiding, the book you've told yourself you'd write someday, the business you've daydreamed about, the habit you want to build. Whatever it is, the fog won't lift on its own. You have to walk through it. You don't need perfection. You need motion. And here is the beauty of it. Once you begin, you will adjust. You will refine. You will grow stronger with each step. That is how all great journeys begin, not with certainty, but with commitment. So start. Start afraid, start uncertain, start small, but start. Let the world meet you in motion. Let your own strength surprise you. Let clarity rise to meet your courage. The trail does not appear to the man who waits. It appears to the man who walks. So walk, and let the path unfold beneath your feet. The man who acts daily outruns the man who waits for inspiration. Some men work only when they feel like it, when the conditions are right, when they are inspired. They wait for a breeze of motivation to lift their sails. And yes, when the wind does come, they move fast, they shine bright. But just as quickly as they rise, they stall. Because inspiration is a guest, and it doesn't always show up. Others, they work every day, whether inspired or not. Whether it's raining or the sun is shining, whether energy is high or their mood is low, they rise, they move, they do the work. Not perfectly, not dramatically, but consistently. And in the long run, the daily man wins. Not by luck, not by genius, but by stacking effort, compound upon compound until greatness becomes inevitable. This is a law of life that too many ignore. The man who waits for inspiration lives in cycles, brief bursts of brilliance, followed by long droughts. He lives off of moments. The man who shows up daily, he builds a reservoir of discipline, a rhythm that sustains him even when the spark is low. Why is this truth so essential? Because every lasting achievement, every strong body, every great book, every powerful business, every legacy is born from repetition, not mood. The farm does not grow crops on passion. It grows them on discipline, on planting, watering, weeding, and tending every single day. The harvest does not come from inspiration. It comes from consistency. We romanticize passion. We idolize those who strike while the iron is hot. But greatness does not come from hot strikes. It comes from men who show up and keep striking long after the fire dims. Men who push the plow when the ground is hard, who write the sentence when the words don't flow, who practice the routine even when their body aches. So how do you become this kind of man? You build rhythm. You create rituals. You make the habit stronger than your mood. You honor your time like sacred ground, and you protect your focus like it's your future because it is. You don't wait to feel like it. You set a time. You show up. You begin. And slowly, you become someone who doesn't need the feeling to act. Someone who doesn't ask, "Do I want to today?" but instead says, "This is who I am." Picture two runners. One waits for good weather. He watches the sky. He checks the forecast. If the air is right and the sun is warm, he runs. And when he does, he runs well. But most days he waits. The other he runs daily, rain or shine, cold or heat. Some runs are smooth, some are miserable, but he runs. And after a year, guess who is ready for the race? The answer is obvious, but the application is rare, because showing up daily is not glamorous. It's not celebrated. It doesn't produce instant results, but it builds something deeper than results. It builds identity, it builds strength, it builds inevitability. Where in your life have you waited too long for the perfect moment? What have you delayed because the feeling hasn't come yet? What dreams have gathered dust while you waited to be inspired? Now, imagine a different approach, one where you show up daily, no matter how you feel, one where you treat your goal like a field and tend it every day. Some days you will see progress. Other days, it will feel like nothing is happening. But under the surface, something always is. The roots are growing. The ground is warming. The result is being earned. You don't need more passion. You need more rhythm. Because rhythm is what carries you through the dry seasons. Rhythm is what builds the foundation under the flashes of brilliance. Rhythm is what transforms effort into excellence. So build your rhythm. Choose your times. Honor your work. And stop asking permission from your feelings. You are not built to be a slave to inspiration. You are built to create, to endure, to rise. And when you move daily, everything else begins to rise with you. Don't wait for the perfect moment. Create it. Start forcing yourself to take action every single day, one step at a time, one decision at a time. Because your future is built by what you do, not what you intend.